there, sports fans, and welcome back to another edition of Foul Territory. I'm your host, Mike Smith. Obviously, the podcast has taken a bit of a hiatus over the last couple of weeks, but we're definitely excited to come back. We've got a playoff episode for you here. We're breaking down all the first-round playoff matchups. But before we get into all of that, I thought it was important that we at least took a moment to acknowledge what happened this week with the tragic passing of Frank Almonte. Frank was a long-time NYCMBL player, played for a variety of teams, the Queens Red Sox, the Titans, the Forest Hills Marlins, and word came down on Monday afternoon that Frank was dead in Spain. Apparently he had been hit by a car. Frank was overseas serving in the U.S. Navy. He was stationed in Spain, and I know this comes as a huge blow to our community, having been in the league for so long. Frank had tons of friends, teammates, coaches, people who knew him, respected him. And I can tell from talking to different guys who knew Frank that this is a very hard time for them. And it's a time where we have to really put baseball in perspective and realize that we're lucky enough to come out here. We have a special group of guys. It's really a tight-knit community. And when one member of that community is lost, it really affects us all. So I hope this week, as you guys all go out and play your games, everyone at least thinks about Frank and about the tragedy that's fallen on him and prays for his friends and family. So kind of changing directions, as I said earlier, we do have a special playoff preview episode today. We're going to be breaking down each of the first-round games of the AA playoffs. And I felt, who better to give their playoff predictions than the guy who kind of started it all off for us, Mr. Ron Darling. So, Ron, how's it going, man? Oh, wow. This is happening.
You know that, Mike. Recognize that. Playoff time. It's playoff time. It only comes once a year, Mike. And I'll tell you what, it really is the most wonderful time of the year. It reminds me a lot of kind of when I was going through my first divorce. You know, my wife and I, there's all the back and forth, the bickering, the yelling, the bitching, the moaning, and then all of a sudden you get into divorce court and the judge starts making decisions. And that's what we're going to do today, and that's what's going to happen over the next couple weeks. We're going to see some decisions made, contenders versus pretenders, and, we'll see who takes the crown home this year, man. How's it going with you, Mikey? It's good catching up again.
No, it's good to hear from you. I loved the musical intro you played for us there. I'm happy to be in the playoffs. I'm happy to be in the conversation right now. As I think all the teams that we're going to talk about are. I mean, it's been a long season, and this is really where you kind of separate the wheat from the chaff, as they say.
You got that right, Mike. I mean, I'll tell you what, congrats to your team, first of all. Once you got on the dance floor, there's no telling who's going to take the pretty girl home. So I think you guys have as good a chance as anyone. So happy to get into it. I had planned on just sneaking a few Bud Platinums into the movie theater and going to see Grown Ups 2 this weekend. But when I saw some of the games on the docket, some of the playoff positioning at stake, had to go out and catch a few of these games for myself. So getting a little first-hand look at some of these squads lately.
So, just obviously your thing is predictions, and everyone always loves your predictions or hates your predictions. But either way, the reaction is the same. So, do you want to start on the Bronx Manhattan side of things, or do you want to go over to the Brooklyn Queens, where my mud hens are?
Let's go to Brooklyn Queens first, Mike. I got a few viewpoints there on a couple of the teams we got facing off here. A lot of craziness in this league, a lot of talent too. So I don't know. We're going to see what happens.
So I guess we might as well start from the top. You got the one seed Baisley Pirates taking on the New York Storm. What are your thoughts on the way that this series is going to break down?
Well, I'll tell you what, at the beginning of the year, I picked the Pirates to be one of the tough teams. Or did I, Mike? No, I didn't. So I'll tell you what, I think these guys, they've really shown me up. You know what I mean? I kind of slighted them here a little earlier this year, and now all of a sudden you see they got a couple MVP candidates, and they're playing really well. I don't think this matchup is incredibly easy for them, though. The Storm are kind of a tough draw. The Pirates beat them, I believe, in the series. Mike, was it 3-1, 3-1, 2-1, something? I think
the Pirates took 3 games from the Storm. Yeah.
Yeah, but I saw in the box scores, the Storm, that one win they had was 16-0. And speaking of the Pirates, it's like the the 1960 Pirates. You know what I mean? They lose to the Yankees 10-0, 10-1, and now they come back and they're winning games 3-2 and 2-1. So who knows? I could see that being a chance for these Storm, but I really don't think it's going to happen. I really don't think it's going to.
I mean, if, being an 8 seed going against the 1 seed, what do you think are the Storm's biggest obstacles to winning this series?
I really think their biggest obstacle is having enough players to play. I don't know what the deal is with them not being able to get people out to the ballpark, but if they bring their whole team, their whole staff, you get Lanahan out there, Howard, Pena, Wilson, I mean, all those guys, they can compete with anyone. I don't care if it's the Pirates, the Mud Hens, the Braves. They're going to be in good shape if they get all those guys going, and hopefully, knowing that it's playoff time, they will show up. But you know what, Mike? You might have said that for playoff clinching games, and here they are just sneaking in as the 8 seed. So I think if this kid Melvin for the Pirates continues to kind of throw the darts that he has been, I think the Buccaneers will take it in 3 games, Mike. Believe that.
So Pirates in 3. Believe that. You've heard it from Ron Darling.
This is trying to get some retribution for the Pirates. You know what I mean? I undersold those cats, and here they are now, the top seed. God bless them.
Well, you know what? I know that's a team that has definitely played with a chip on their shoulders. I don't know if that's because of what you said about them in the preseason, but obviously they're playing some great baseball right now. They're a well-rounded team.
What I said, Mike. That's
What's that?
That's as big a chip as you can get. If I slight your team, come on, I'm Ron Darling. Let's go.
All right, now going down the ladder, we got my second-seeded Mud Hens taking on the New York Braves, who actually beat us earlier in the year. Again, how do you see this one shaking out?
Well, the timing's pretty appropriate, Mike. Major League trade deadline this week. You look at the midseason acquisition that the Braves had. Vincent Manning, they grabbed him from the Rockies, and he's been exactly what they needed. So they snuck into the playoffs here. 7 seed usually doesn't come with a lot of high expectations. But I think their expectations are a little higher now because your team, Mike, as well as anyone, struggling a little bit here down the stretch.
Yeah, we've we've hit a couple road bumps, but I don't think we're playing terrible baseball.
Yeah, I'll tell you what though, Mike. We talked beginning of the year. What did we say was your biggest weakness for the Mud Hens? We'll do a little forced recall here. What was it?
That was the offense.
Exactly. And you guys are struggling to hit in big spots, and maybe that means that you were getting lucky hitting in big spots earlier this year. So, that starts to fade. You don't put the runners in who are in scoring position. The next thing you know, you're out of the series against the Braves. But I really do think it's going to be a big game 1, Mike. I hope you're already working on spray charts and you're working on the different training methodologies, be they conventional or unconventional, that your team tends to employ. But I think that's going to be a big pitching matchup with Legal and Manning. They're pretty similar guys, obviously, as you know. Neither of them really strike out a ton of people. And I know Manning beat you earlier in the year. But you got Legal up your sleeve, and he's been tough this season. So I don't know. I think this is a bit of a coin flip, but just because, you're doing me the service of bringing me onto your podcast, I'll throw this one to the Mud Hens. We'll say it's going to go 3 games.
Well, I mean, considering how well your prediction with the Pirates worked out at the beginning of the year, I am now terrified.
As you should be, Mike. As you should be.
So that brings us to the 3rd-seeded New York Pirates, a team that is new to the Brooklyn Queens division. Obviously, they had a good year last year playing in the Bronx Manhattan. They're taking on the BQE, a real tough-hitting team. What are your thoughts on the way this one shakes out?
I think this will be fun, Mike. This is going to be a lot of fun, this one. And by fun, I mean like fundamentals, because you look at the Pirates, look at them. Good pitching, good fielding. Their coach might as well be Tommy Mansky, the way that these guys can play the game. They're tough. They're going to be tough to beat because they're solid. But if you got a team that you're going to have to pick to beat them, BQE might be that team. I mean, you look at Pisani on that team. My God, I wouldn't want to cork anything down the heart of the plate to that guy, or he'll send it the other way real quick. So, I don't know. I think the one kind of X factor for the Pirates is going to be Bennett Pepping. Whether that's his real name or his stage name, I think it's going to be interesting to see how he does on the hill, if he does indeed get the ball. They have a great starting rotation in the postseason, but in this short series, you know what I mean? You make one bad start, and all of a sudden you're in a pretty deep hole when you're playing best of 3. So it's going to be tough. But if BQE can somehow take it to Wagenberger, old Voggy, in game 1. I think they're going to take game 2 too, and I'm going to pick my first underdog here. I've been going chalk, and I know you're ready to call me out on that, but I'm going to take BQE in 2 in the upset.
Well, actually, as a matter of fact, before I got on with you, I checked out the forum, and it was predicted that you were going to go chalk.
Oh, was it?
That was the prediction from the people who are upset with your predictions.
Those sly sons of guns out there. Look at this. They think I go chalk. They think I don't do my homework. They think I'm not out there pounding pavement and trying to figure out who the good teams, who are the bad teams, who you can't groove a fastball to, who cheats on the breaking stuff. Come on now. Come on, Mike. You know me better than that.
But I will say,
knows me better than that.
Your first upset special, I like it. I'm not going to weigh in, obviously, because we'll probably wind up having to play the pissed off team I picked against.
Yeah, and good luck.
But,
good luck pissing off Bill Pisani, by the way. You know what I mean?
I think half my team is definitely afraid of that guy. So, I mean, his ground balls make the earth shake. So
I'll tell you what they better be. Who else they better be afraid of is me, Mike, picking them to beat the Braves, because you never know with the Pirates thing you mentioned earlier, the Baisley Pirates. I could be the kiss of death here, but either way, let's see where we go here in this next matchup. Who else you got for me? The 4 versus 5.
So yeah, that last one, that 4-5 matchup, that's always a big one. Bandits, Rainmakers, a lot of things in the mix here. What are your thoughts?
You ain't kidding, Mike. That's right on. I mean, I'll tell you what, beyond all the extracurriculars you may want to talk about with this one, I think this is actually a pretty evenly matched series, which it should be when you see a 4 versus 5. You know what I mean? I normally keep my note cards around here with the contents of our previous podcast, but I can't seem to find my preseason notes on these guys. But I remember kind of pumping up this Rainmaker staff, and they still have a lot of depth. They got a lot of depth, a lot of guys who are going to throw it past you, throw it around you, throw it any way which possible to get it past you. And you got Wood, you got Casely, Travellino, you got Brucato, who was really underrated this year. But you know what? If you throw as many strikes as they do and you get as many easy ground balls as they do, then you need to make plays in the infield. And that's been their biggest problem. So I don't know. The Bandits, they can hit the ball a little bit. They're not going to tear the cover off of it. I think their biggest question mark is going to be who's going to get that start in Game 3 if this series, goes that far. I know Scotto has had a bit of a rubber arm in the past. They're probably going to have to cobble together some innings with Vankerhove, Kemp, maybe throw another guy into the mix. But when you look at that right there, that alone, I mean, you talk about the Rainmakers' depth and their rotation. Pitching is going to win you a championship, Mike. And I think the Rainmakers are at least going to get one step closer here, courtesy of their staff, and I think they're going to take it in 3. So I don't know if you want to call that an upset, but it's a 5 beating a 4. So I hope I'm keeping the masses happy here, Michael.
Just want to go back to the Rainmakers and the Bandits here, and obviously the Bandits they don't have quite the offense that the Rainmakers have shown this year, but they do have possibly the best hitting catcher in the league in Capabianca. What are your thoughts? Can he be a difference maker in this series?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. He's probably the hottest hitter one of the hottest hitters in the league. What's he hitting, like almost 500, 450, something like that? The only thing is there's only one of him. You know what I mean? And it's tough if you can pitch around him a little bit. Not that the rest of the team is incredibly weak offensively, but, I think it's going to be a tall task for them to beat this Rainmaker staff. So talk to me in a couple weeks. We'll see where they stand and what happens here.
All right, so that was Ron Darling's look at the Brooklyn Queens division.
So exciting, Mike. It's so I want to play that song. Where's my boombox? I want to play that song again. I want to play that again, man. This gets me pumped.
I don't know if we need the song again, but what we do need you to do is to cast your gaze over to the Bronx Manhattan division. Got the D-backs, the number 1 seed there. They're going to play the 8 seed, who's going to be the winner of a play-in game that's played on Friday night. You've got the Tigers. You've got the Cross Bronx. I can't say their name. The Cross Bronx Rockies. Whoever's the 8 seed is going to be in a tough position. Are you in agreement with that?
I'm totally in agreement with it, Mike. I read this kind of alignment here for this series, and I almost laughed. It's incredible what they're asking these play-in teams to do. They're already, but the 8 seed is behind the 8 ball, if you will, Mike. You like how I did that there?
I like it.
Yeah, I mean, you think about it. It's kind of like what they're doing in the bigs now. You know what I mean? Like you got. If you're a wild card team or if you're a lower seed, you got to get that play-in game essentially. And if you got one game to advance further in the playoffs, you're going to throw your ace. So that's a struggle that the Tigers and the Rockies are going to be looking at here. I actually kind of like the Rockies to emerge from that battle. I'm not 100% sure that's going to happen. It's obviously tough with the play-in game, but I'll tell you what, Mike, I'm not even sure how relevant that's going to be because these D-backs are disgusting. They got, 15, 20 home runs this year?
They've got a good many home runs.
Yeah, they've been ripping the ball all over the ballpark, including out of the ballpark. So, I mean, you look at Castillo, Familia, these guys, they drop bombs. So, I mean, I think the biggest advantage for them is for them to kind of pick on one of the lower starters for the Rockies and the Tigers, jump out to a lead, and then, make it apparent to whoever this winner of the play-in game is, Mike. If they want to win that series after dropping game one, they'll have to play 4 games in 24 hours. I've never heard of that before. And granted, they're probably going to have to face at least once for at least 9 innings Victor Padilla, who has been almost untouchable this year. ERA is less than 1. He's got almost 2 Ks an inning. And I think 2 is all it's going to take for the D-backs to take care of the Rockies or the Tigers.
All right, fair enough. So that brings us to the 2-seeded Yankees, the Nassau Yankees. You got them playing the 7-seeded Giants. The Giants were actually slated to be a 6 seed based on their record. They are the defending champs from the Bronx Manhattan division. What are your thoughts on this one?
I can hear these followers and these fans yelling chalk all the way from the Bronx right now. Because I'll start out by saying it's going to be a real tough battle. It's going to be tighter than it might look. And I think this is a little bit of a misleading kind of line here. You know what I mean? The Yankees, a good team, deserving of that 2 seed. The Giants probably deserve a bit of a higher seed too, but they couldn't make up games. You know what I mean? It's tough to get people out here when you got rain, you got issues, you got this and that. So I want to look at their head-to-head, and they split these games 3-1, 3-0. That's not a blowout in either sense. Couple clutch hits here and there. So I think you could throw the seeding out the window and just start talking about the pitching staffs and the offense. And I think that's obviously what's going to be the biggest difference here. The Giants have solid frontliners. They got Guerra, they got Nieves. But I think I give the edge to the Yankees here, Mike. You got those 2 guys. If you got 2 pitchers with a below 2 ERA, that's almost as good as having a Padilla with a sub 1 ERA. It kind of works out that way. I think they're going to be tough to beat with that staff going. So that's my thought there when you talk about the guys on the mound. But there's one guy who's going to be standing in the box, and you know who I'm about to talk about here, Mike. It's
who is that? Who's that?
It's the Rolex himself, Alex Rolex Oates. You look at these numbers for him. I feel like I didn't put my contacts in this morning. He's an elder statesman, but he's hitting like 600, Mike. 600. You got kids. You got kids who play D1 ball. You got kids who play in college. Kids who maybe even touch the minors. They can only dream about hitting at that clip. And this guy is just crushing everything that comes in at the plate. All these young bucks trying to step up to him, and he's sending them right back out. So big of a difference maker as he is, I think the Yankees pitching is going to be the biggest difference maker here. And I think they're going to take it in 3 in what's going to be a tight series.
All right. I mean, I can't say that I disagree with any of your logic there. I mean, I think it's going to be a real tight series too. And, like you said, one bounce goes one way, one bounce goes the other way. We could be talking about a different outcome entirely. So
you're exactly right. We could be talking about, the Giants versus the Gotham A's or something if they get a higher seed by showing up for some games there, getting the makeups in. But they made their bed. They got to sleep in. Is that how that saying goes? I don't know, Mike. I don't even know. But let's just get to the next. Matchup here.
So moving on to the 3 seed versus 6 seed, you've got the Bronx Titans going against the Gotham A's.
Oh yeah, Mike. Start with the Titans. I feel like I'd be remiss if I didn't mention something about their recent loss. It's terrible news. My condolences go out to the team, families, everyone around them. And I mean, you know them better than I do even. So I don't know if you had anything to add on that. It's just a sad situation, Mike.
Well, I touched on it before you came on. I don't want to say that, this is going to give them inspiration, but, at the very most, I hope that when those guys take the field on Saturday, that they'll at least have Frank in their hearts. I know a lot of guys were very close to him, so, at least hopefully they can be thinking of him when they play and maybe get some sort of break from what's got to be a tough week. But you're on here to make predictions. So how do you see this one playing out?
I'll tell you what, Mike. Well, first of all, well said. Second of all, though, I think this is actually a pretty good matchup. The A's are a tough team, scrappy bunch. You know what I mean? They play the game the right way. They're going to keep playing hard. It's tough to break their will. That's indicative by the way they came back and took game 2 from the Titans after the Titans really took it to them earlier in the season in that first game. But you know what? I feel like that was a long, long time ago. So you got to look at their full body of work. And when I look at their full body of work, I look at the pitcher's mound, and there's not, a ton of stars out here. You know what I mean? There's some good talent. You got Wertheimer and you got Valentin, and these guys can pitch a little bit. They're not bad pitchers by any means. They can win you a playoff series. They can win you some games. But I think the big deciding factor here is going to be the offense, and I think it's going to be tough for these guys on the A's to keep the ball away from these kids like Colazzo and Ortiz, and they both can really hit the ball out of the ballpark at a pretty good clip. And if they don't, they're going to drive in the runners that get on base in front of them. So, the A's really only have one guy who can match that, and that's Valentin. He's hitting, I think, 420, 440, something like that, Mike. But there's one of him. There's a couple more studs over there on the Titans side. I really think they're going to take this in 2 games, which is a nice win for their team. You know what I mean? I think it'd be great to see them advance, and it's going to be some good baseball in this series. I'll tell you that much.
And, just one thing. Obviously they've got guys that can hit the ball out. These teams are going to be playing on Saturday at Randall's Island. Got a real short left field porch.
Oh, yeah, Mike. It's like Fenway Park without the monster there, Mike. It's tough.
Exactly. There's not even a fence. just weeds. But, looking at that, do you think that's something that's going to help the Titans, or is it going to hurt them in the fact that those guys are looking to put the ball out at that, 250-foot mark? Do you think they'll be overswinging a little bit?
No, I'll tell you what, Mike, the older I get, the better I was. You know what I mean? Back when I was facing fields like that, I was trying to rip everything into the next zip code. I had a hard time doing it a lot of times, and I think it all comes down to coaching in that case. I think Titans are pretty well coached, and I think they got some discipline. And I think they're going to do a decent job kind of staying within themselves, not necessarily playing small ball. If you can go for that big bomb, you might as well do it. And you got a couple guys in the heart of the order who can. So I think it can be a blessing and a curse. That's a real good point. I guess that's why you're in this biz, huh, Mike? You bring up those good questions in these interviews.
Well, I guess so.
Trying to stump me. I dropped Rolex's name earlier. I'm doing my Facebook style homework on these guys. You know what I mean? I'm into this league, Michael. Let me tell you that much. But yeah, I think that's a good point. But I think it's going to help them more than it's going to hurt them. That ball will roll for days out there, and it's going to be tough to find in those weeds, like you said. So I think the Titans got what it takes to take this one.
Well, so that brings us to our final prediction of the evening. You've got a couple of NYCMBL stalwarts in the Bears and the 5th seed Express. What are your thoughts on this one? I know that this one has a lot of eyes on it here.
Yeah, to say my thoughts. I feel like it's 2008 again, 2010. Something like these teams are always in the midst of it, Mike, and you got some depth on both sides. I think this would be a fun one to watch. If I had to punch a ticket to one game or one series in this whole first round of the playoffs, I'd probably go to this one. I'll tell you that much. This is a pretty even battle. I won't give away my prediction quite yet. I'll tell you, I think it's going to go 3. I'll give you that right now.
Fair enough.
But I think when I look at this, I set up my my Venn diagrams, my charts, all the homework that I do, much like these teams and their managers do. I think the Express are just deeper and they're better. All right, well, yeah. I mean, Mike, you look at them. They got 4 quality arms. They got Velasquez. They got JB, as I like to call him, because I can't pronounce his name otherwise. They got Quinones. They got Santiago. These guys are tough pitchers, and when you get a 3-game series, best of 3-game series, and you got 4 guys who can sling the rock, as they say, like that, it's gonna be trouble. And unfortunately, the other team probably doesn't have a lineup quite like the Express also have. You look at Velasquez, who can really play ball, and then they got one of my favorite players in the league, Carlos Quintana. Fucking Quintana, man, that creep can roll. If you know what I'm saying, Mike. If you,
I do.
If the dude abides in this case, with that cat leading the way, I think they're gonna be dangerous. They're also well coached, so I like what the Express brings to the table. But the tables can turn real quick when you look to that beer side, and you got a kid like Ryan Smith, who, if I'm not mistaken, Mike, he's one of those well-educated Ivy League gentlemen. But there's nothing gentlemanly about the way this cat throws. He's their all-time saves leader up there. And I guess at Dartmouth they probably play 12 games a year with all the snow they get up there. Who knows?
I don't know. It was my safety school.
Oh, Mike, look at you. Where did you go, Mike? You went to Dickinson, right?
I was a Dickinson guy. Yes, Dartmouth was way beyond my reach.
Say, what is that? D5 baseball down there, Pennsylvania. But either way, this kid Smith, I mean, you got Britton over there too. Let me not forget about him because he's a great pitcher as well. But Smith is the real deal. I saw him pitch against the D-backs, and he was bringing smoke. And he's been smoking everyone. That ERA is even less than Padilla's, and his strikeouts per inning is well above 2. You don't really see a lot of that in this league, and I think he has that one outing against the Express. I don't know if you remember this one, Mike, but I could almost see like the movie-style newspaper twirling to the front of the screen to reveal the headline, Smith twirls 6-inning no-hitter with 9 Ks. Kid doesn't make mistakes. He throws strikes. He throws hard. He's got Britton coming out of the back end if they need him there. And I think they're going to throw Smith in game 1. And I know I cheated on this one. Mike told you I was going to go pick my winner in 3. And I'm kind of leaning here towards the Beers the more that I talk about them, but the cream's going to rise here, and I think it's going to be the Express. Like I said, they're the better team. If you put team in quotes, that is what they are. They're a good team. They're going to play well. Like we said, they're well coached, and fucking Quintana, man, they're going to be tough. They're going to be tough.
Well, Ron, I'm sure that everyone is very anxious to hear your predictions, your prognostications as they are. I thank you coming on again. We've had a lot of fun with you this year, and I hope this continues. And maybe in a month or so, you can come on and give us your finals predictions.
Oh, I'd love to. I'd love to see. Love to see how this shakes out. Obviously, it's not always the same way that old Ronnie calls it before it all begins, but. I think we're in for some good baseball either way. And good luck to your boys, Michael. You got your work cut out for you in that Brooklyn Queens division. But I think you got as good a chance as anyone. So keep that nose to the grindstone. And even if you guys lose, you and I'll head out and watch Grown Ups too sometime. How about that? We'll work that out.
Well, I'm a huge David Spade fan.
Good. And Kevin James is my man too. So we're into this. Michael.
All right, Ron, thanks a lot for coming on.
All right, Mike, thanks for having me.
Well, that was the always interesting, always provocative, and sometimes factually wrong Ron Darling. I just want to clarify something there. Ron said that Ryan Smith had pitched a no-hitter against the Express. He did not. He threw a 6-inning shutout, gave up 6 hits. But that's neither here nor there. He won the game. That's the important thing. So as our AA teams take the field this week to decide who's going to advance in the playoffs, our single A teams are playing their last round of regular season games, figuring out playoff seeding for them. I wish everybody the best of luck, and as always, stay healthy, stay happy, and keep it between the lines.